Hi, I'm Stacy Sulamiotis, Program Specialist for the Ohio State University Extension, and I'm joined by a colleague who also works in community health here in Cleveland. Thanks for joining me today, Erin. Tell us what you do.
Thanks for having me, Stacy. Well, I'm a dietitian and I work on improving health and access to nutritious foods in Cleveland and Cuyahoga County. And this is most often done through establishing nutrition standards and policies in places that don't necessarily have them.
Well, I want to talk to you today about eating out and what does that look like for the kids in our community? What options do we typically see in restaurants on the kids menu, and how is that impacting the health of our kids?
Well, firstly, we know that a lot of people are eating out due to how busy everyone is. Prior to the pandemic, 36% of children were eating out on any given day. But a lot of parents and guardians and families are disappointed that we aren't seeing any healthier options. I think there's an assumption that we need to cater to what kids want. So we're thinking of things like French fries and chicken nuggets, but this isn't necessarily the case. Not only do families and community members need to see healthier options, but kids want them too.
Well, let's talk about the health of our community and our children. What does that look like?
We continue to see increasing rates of obesity in children, which of course increases the risk for things like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, asthma, sleep apnea, as well as increasing the risk of remaining overweight or obese in adulthood. Across the country, 20% of children are obese, which is about 15 million kids. In Cuyahoga County, 25% of children are struggling with obesity. And when we look specifically at Cleveland, 30% of children are obese or overweight. And evidence is showing that obesity rates are continuing to increase during the pandemic and due to the pandemic, presumably due to things like less structured physical activity and fewer school meals, and of course, mental health challenges.
Wow, those figures are staggering. Do you have any information on how many children are eating out and how this might possibly play a role in their health?
So, children eat 25% of their meals outside the home. And so, this is how this might be impacting their food choices. So, a lot of these kids' meals are going to have foods like pizza and soda, ice cream and desserts and fruit drinks. And this makes sense because 40% of the calories eaten by kids are coming from things like added sugars and unhealthy fats. So of course, things like pizza, ice cream, and fruit drinks, it sounds about right.
So, how do current kid meal options at restaurants stack up to what they should be eating?
Almost 80% of kids' meals from the top 50 restaurant chains across the country don't meet any nutrition standards for children. For example, a meal out contains twice as many calories as a typical meal at home. And it's not surprising that these meals out have fewer fruits and vegetables than a meal cooked and enjoyed at home.
So, let's talk about what we've seen on kids' meals. The choices are not great. What are the current workarounds for this issue?
Some parents or guardians might choose to order their child an adult meal, which of course is going to result in larger portions, and it may include ingredients like herbs and spices that aren't necessarily appropriate for a child's palate. And sometimes at some places you can make a change to a kid's meal, but studies show that the majority of people are just going to stick to whatever the default option is rather than opting out of something like an unhealthy side of French fries or an unhealthy drink like soda. So if the default options were healthier, then we could see a decrease in core menu options and thus healthier kids.
Yeah. And I'm sure restaurants are also thinking, what about the bottom line? Are people going to buy these healthier kids options? Is it going to cost us more money to implement? What have you found?
So offering healthier kids meals doesn't necessarily mean less business for restaurants. In one study, over half of the kids who order from a children's menu were still interested in ordering meal options that came with fruits and vegetables.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us today about this. Sounds like recommendations really are for restaurants to offer those healthier options. And there's not only a need for it, but there is a demand to have healthier options. And it's not going to cost restaurants more money if they do offer those options.
Well, thanks for having me, Stacy. And I completely agree. Our children in our communities deserve healthier kids' meal options, and our favorite local restaurants don't have to suffer from any actions that can support a healthier Cleveland.
Yeah. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you.